Let's talk injuries and when some of the biggest stars are going to come back to America's pastime. JP Morosi up with us late on an MLB Tonight. John, thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate you doing this.
Well, Greg, it's my pleasure. We're just getting set for our showcase game here in Boston tomorrow. So perfect travel. I was with Dan last night, Citi Field with the Mets. Make the travel up here. Can't wait for tomorrow. We'll see Ohtani and Trout in the lineup, hopefully, for the Angels.
All right, good. I'll end with a Red Sox player, but I want to begin with, well, I think, the face of baseball when he's healthy and he's right, and it's Fernando Tatis Jr., one of the most exciting players in the sport. The wrist injury, do we know how that is healing? And his ETA, when will we see him back on the field?
Greg, at last report, Tatis has made some strides in terms of that left wrist fracture. Now, of course, it's not his throwing wrist. So very creatively, the Padres, according to A.J. Cassavell, you see him on the field there. So he's been able to do some defensive work, wearing a brace there on that left wrist area. He's actually been able to take some ground balls with assistance there. So he'll have somebody fielding it for him, flipping it to him. So he's been able to keep his right throwing arm in shape. We do expect to see him be able to swing the bat a bit more here. Actually, he has not started to swing the bat at all. That's going to be the key telltale sign in the coming weeks, that they believe that he could be back sometime in June, maybe even early June. But as Harold could certainly describe, that bottom hand on the bat, that's really a heavy load that's going to have to bear. I think that's going to be the key test for Tatis. Can that left wrist and hand handle the low part of the bat as a right-handed batter? That's the key test now for Tatis coming up.
They began the day 15-8 on the year without Fernando Tatis Jr. You could say the New York Mets are thriving, even though they don't have their best pitcher, Jacob deGrom. A few shoulder injuries I want to get your intel on. deGrom, how is he doing, and will he be back in the rotation before the All-Star break?
Greg, I think that's certainly a possibility. Now, Billy Upper, the Mets GM, was with us yesterday on MLB Tonight, and he said that right now Jacob should begin to start throwing soon. He didn't exactly put the date on it, but he did say soon, that right now the shoulder is beginning to get worked up a little bit as he described it. So I do think that in general, deGrom is trending in the direction of throwing in the next week or two, as long as things continue to look good there. But as you point out, the Mets' best record in the National League, sweep the doubleheader today. Their rotation has been so solid. Carrasco was excellent today. Scherzer, of course, has been Scherzer for the most part. Bassett, I thought, last night was very good, and Dan was there to see him as well. So I think overall the Mets' rotation is in a great spot, even without deGrom. And if they get him in July, my goodness, the potential of this Mets team is going to be limitless.
It's one of the best rotations in baseball without one of the best pitchers healthy right now in deGrom. The St. Louis Cardinals, their rotation is more than just treading water right now. They've done a pretty good job. They're over 500 at the moment. They would be so much better with their ace healthy. What's the latest on the right shoulder of Jack Flaherty?
So, Greg, as you point out, Flaherty has not actually appeared in a game during this Major League season. So that certainly is a huge concern, a huge arm the Cardinals need back very soon. It will certainly lessen the burden on Adam Wainwright as he goes through now his age 40 season. But it looks like for now, in the case of Flaherty, he has been able to get out to throw 120 feet here in the last week or so. So that's been a very good sign for the Cardinals. If he's able to throw to 120, then you start to think rehab assignment maybe in the next couple of weeks. And if he's able to do that, I think returning sometime in the month of June becomes very possible, I think, for Jack Flaherty and the Cardinals. So again, nothing has been imminent in terms of when he's going to get out and have that minor league rehab outing. But, Greg, I do think that is certainly something that could happen before the end of May.
I know it's early, but this could be a rebuilding year for the Washington Nationals. They won their 9th game tonight, so they're 9-16 on the year. It's a really tough division. I have to assume they're not going to rush Steven Strasburg back. So what's the likelihood we don't see Steven Strasburg pitch at all in 2022?
You know, Greg, it's a great question, but I do think we will see Strasburg pitch this year. And there was a report from Mark Zuckerman of MASNsports.com here recently that Strasburg is actually due to face hitters at the Nationals spring complex tomorrow. So this could happen as soon as tomorrow to actually face hitters. And again, the recovery from thoracic outlet syndrome surgery can be very arduous. It could take a lot of time. But if he's on the mound facing hitters tomorrow, Greg, I really think that not only do I expect him to pitch this season, but perhaps even before the All-Star break. So a very good sign there for the Nationals and Strasburg. And as you point out, a very tough division. I've had people around the National League tell me the team that in some respects frightens them the most might be the Marlins with their pitching. So it really, that's a team that we should not lose sight of. Yes, the Mets have been tremendous, but the Marlins pitching-wise in my view, might be second to no one right now in the National League.
You said you're in Boston. I want to end with Chris Sale because he's got this rib injury. Of all the guys we just talked about, there might be more pressure on the back of Chris Sale to not just be healthy when he comes back, but to be an ace if the Red Sox are going to slide into the expanded postseason. What is the status of Chris Sale?
You know, Greg, it's a great point by you about how crucial Chris Sale is going to be to the Red Sox. He had a very brief, abbreviated 7-pitch bullpen session, 7 pitches last week in Fort Myers. So they're clearly going to be very, very cautious with him. Remember, there were some struggles for him in the second half of last season as well, even into the playoffs. But I absolutely agree with your premise because you consider how the Red Sox have really had to be careful with their rotation, finding ways. Of course, they lost Eduardo Rodriguez, the Tigers in free agency. Michael Wacha, though, tonight, very good, of course. Didn't get 3 times to the lineup, but was very strong against the Angels. Of course, didn't even allow a base runner past second base tonight against the Angels. So I think Wacha's been huge for them early on. They're now going to have Garrett Whitlock starting in our showcase game tomorrow. That's going to be a really key thing to see. How long can Whitlock give them? Because they probably have liked him in that relief role, Greg, going back to last season, but out of necessity now moves into the rotation. We'll watch very carefully here in our showcase game tomorrow how deep Whitlock can get for the Red Sox as a starting pitcher.
Great information at almost midnight Eastern. John Morosi, we really appreciate you hanging out with us. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Greg. I'm a great fan of the show. I'm already up watching you guys anyway, so might as well join it. It's perfect.
I love it. Thanks, man. You make me smile. You always
Thanks,
do.
Greg. All the best.